In his book, The Horse and His Boy, C.S. Lewis tells a story of a runaway slave, a young boy called Shasta. At one point in the story, Shasta was called upon to help some traveling companions escape a wild lion. As soon as they escape, they find themselves at the house of the hermit of the Southern March, who, immediately upon receiving the weary guests, tells Shasta he has another important task to perform. He has to go and find the king and deliver a message. The young boy, on receiving these orders, was very downcast, and Lewis explains it like this. He had not yet learned that when you've done a good deed, very often your reward is that you are required to do a better and more difficult one immediately. Now, I have experienced something very similar. I remember a couple of years ago, I actually gave some money to a panhandler, and the very next day, I was approached in the parking lot of my office by a complete stranger, a young lady, asking me to buy some food for her and her kids. And I did. She said she was leaving an abusive situation. Her kids were at the hotel. She asked if I would buy lunch so that they could be on their way to go and see some family in another state. So I did. In the book, the story is kind of a campaign of war. My experience didn't feel exactly like that. No, my experience was much more pleasant. It was one of the best feelings I've ever felt. The best way I can describe it is this. How did you feel the very first time your first child gave you a kiss? What's the very next thing you wanted? You wanted more kisses. It was like that. That's the best way I can describe it. It was kisses from heaven. Now, a couple cautionary notes. Number one, I don't always give money to panhandlers. You have to use your gut. Like, for instance, the 20-year-old kid that was texting behind his sign, no, he didn't get any money off of me. All right. Cautionary note number two, as soon as you do, probably the next day, a situation will arise in which you're required to do something generous again. That's the way it works. Oh, and Rachel, if by some miracle you ever see this, please know that I pray for you often, and I hope you're doing okay.